Yeah. So, and then there was Little Coffee and the comatose slash trance slash half blacked out man slash mostly unconscious but struggling to be conscious man gives a speech on consciousness of the path of least resistance and all correlating tangents to the entire topic. Here goes fucking nothing. Let me just get a sip of coffee. Can I do that? Can I get a sip of coffee for this shit? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's me trying to fucking gather my thoughts. If you were wondering, the path of least resistance. Okay, so to kind of like a little paint, let's illustrate, get a little illustration going on to illustrate the kind of theme of this thing. We're gonna have to paint some examples for you. Okay, otherwise it's just a bunch of like speech. You got to visualize something, right? So like if you're going to go deep with a topic, there's got to be like some visuals, aka examples, so that you can kind of get like the topic, right? You know, fucking wind it around, like fucking bring it back to the point, like on some shit like that. So the path of least resistance. So we'll start it like this. Let's say a man, that doesn't necessarily have to be me, Tank Lip. Just any man has a theory that something happened. Like, you know, cause and effect. Like there was a cause to something happening, and the effect being the result of whatever caused the effect. Okay, so a man, just some man, has a theory. Let's say the theory is that there was a terrorist attack of some sort. We don't have to give specifics. It could be a chemical attack. Someone was attacked. Someone, whatever. Maybe someone was punched. It was just like a fist fight. Whatever. But a little more elaborate. Let's say it was like on some, like a military type attack. Which, if you're on one side of the fence, then whoever did the attack is like the terrorist. Okay, whatever. This is not really an America versus ISIS thing, unless you want to plug that in there. Just say, some man had a theory that there was an attack. So, the path of least resistance, that theory states that usually the most plausible thing that occurred is the most common or rational or logical thing rather than the path of and that's the path of least resistance. Like basically the easiest theory attached to what could have happened is probably what happened. That's the most rational, that's the most common or logical idea that you could attach to something occurring. We call that the path of least resistance. If the more you have to struggle to like arrive and prove your far out theory of what occurred. So let's say like a terrorist attack or something, rather than versus the fog in the air is the result of weather. Hot and cold air meeting caused fog would be like the path of least resistance versus, oh, the air in the park is so goddamn fucking foggy. Some aircraft must have come through and sprayed some shit, and that's why it's foggy. That's the path of most resistance. You have to really prove a lot of really far out ideas for that to arrive that is actually really what happened. The path of least resistance is the easiest, most common type of answer to what caused something, which you could also say is the most logical or rational. Now, the problem, and this is really where we're getting somewhere, remember, I'm on little coffee and attempting, like, I'm more on some, like, deep shit right now. So, you know, I'm a little flustered. I'm not, like, super flustered, but I'm a little flustered because I want to do this right, and my brain ain't working. So hang on. That is hot coffee in a glass cup, so go fucking figure. All right, for the man in the glass house getting stones. Don't throw stones while you're in the glass house, right? We're fucking shooting off a lot of fucking sayings today. Your boy Tank. I wonder when I get a little silly and laugh like that, if I lose the audience or if you guys like that. You like? I lost both people. I actually started having fun rather than fucking take shit so goddamn serious and fucking get real stressed and like, oh, Mr. Paranoid Tank with his anxiety. We like it when he gets worked up. He takes things a little less serious. He's a little more calm. He's joking around. He's having fun. Then I lost you, right? You only like it when it's like you're working my nerve and actually something's agitating me. I got a smile on my face and I'm laughing about it. You're not as interested, right? You fucking goddamn enemies. I'll fucking take you all out one day. Listen real fucking good right now. You see back that's me and the wife, okay? I got pictures on the wall. So, here's a fucking deal. All right, on some, yeah. The problem with the path of least resistance is if you apply that to everything, that's when the path of most resistance happens and occurs, aka when you're fucking oblivious and ignorant and you're always ruling out. I mean, that's when 9/11 happened, okay? Fucking a building getting attacked in New York City, like, people, that was like unheard of, you know what I'm saying? So, like, everyone's guards was down. So, no one, you said that to them the day before the attack, they would say, you're fucking crazy, go put yourself in an institution, if someone suggested that something like that would happen. Because most people are taking the path of least resistance, that's just a fucking insane idea or theory, and that's not plausible. So where I want to arrive at this early morning speech about the path of least resistance is that if you fucking subscribe to it all the time, that's when the path of most resistance occurs. So it's got to be balanced. You got to evaluate like all the details. If you're going to subscribe to the path of least resistance, evaluate the fucking variables. You know who the fuck I am. Evaluate the variables, okay, and details of whatever happened before you fucking subscribe to that path of least resistance. So let's go back to like the example. There's a park, okay? First I said some man has a theory, but let's just say some man's theory about what happened in the park. And the theory is that the fog in the fucking air is really caused by some chemical that was sprayed via like some aircraft. Okay, if you're going to take the path of least resistance and say, no, that shit didn't happen, you better A, have been in the fucking park to observe everything that other man observed that's saying some other shit. And you better be able to say, when you looked in the sky, you didn't see any fucking aircrafts. Not to mention that doesn't even mean anything, because they got the stealth crafts that got like the fucking invisible shields nowadays. They fucking hover 20 feet above you. You can't even see them. They're like ghosts. So just separate. We don't even get into that shit. You better be able to say there was no aircrafts in the vicinity, the proximity, during the time of this foggy ass air. and that you didn't see anything getting sprayed from something, and that you know for sure just at some point the clear air turned to foggy air. Let me just fucking do my speech, Malone. The fuck is this, basketball? What do you call Malone's fucking brother or some shit? Let me drink some coffee. Look, you're going to take the path of least resistance and say none of that happened, that the foggy ass air is just weather, hot and cold air meeting, and it got fog. You better be able to rule out you didn't see any aircrafts, you didn't see anything getting sprayed, you didn't see any suspicious fucking foreigners or whoever, anyone suspicious. Forget, they don't even have to be ISIS or fucking Muslim, or it could be a fucking evil ass white man from the KKK. Just anyone suspicious in the park, you got to be able to rule all that shit out. You follow what I'm saying? So, if you can't, the path of most resistance, the least logical or rational idea or theory, okay, the far out concept of a man that has a theory that that stuff did occur, that there was aircraft, some type of military type aircraft, whether they belong to your country or not, on your homeland. It's some say it could have been in America. If you're in America, it could have been American aircraft. If you're in America, it could have been some like foreign spy plane or some shit, whatever. Okay? The path of most resistance is when something occurs that isn't the path of least resistance. It's the most likely thing. But a man that has that theory that happened, he might be able to trump your path of least resistance, your seemingly more likely, reasonable, logical, rational idea that it was just weather. He might be able to prove different. Because first of all, when you're always subscribing to the path of least resistance, that's when the path of most resistance happens. When your guard is down, that anything bad can happen. That the paranoid man that's just crazy is just paranoid crazy. That crazy things and unlikely things don't happen, because bullshit. They do, and they happen when your guard is down and you're ignorant to them. So that's when the more unlikely path of most resistance happens. B, it can be proven because the man that had the theory saw the fucking aircrafts versus the man that didn't look. He just gave you an answer and a theory to something, and he wasn't even in the park to see it. The other man was there. The other man saw the aircrafts. He maybe didn't even see the shit getting sprayed, but he saw the fucking foggy air that most are calling weather. And he also noticed fucking 3 or 4 suspicious ass people in the park during the time period of when the air got foggy. So while he may not have actually seen the people release the spray of chemical that caused the foggy shit, or seen the aircraft dispense the chemical, the shit that caused the foggy air, he's got 3 variables that the path of least resistance doesn't. He's got people in the park that were not even just people in the park, okay? Forget about reasonable doubt shit and on a Jay-Z album. He's got people in the park that seem suspicious. Aircrafts in a no-fly zone, or fuck it, even a fly zone, they were still aircrafts. So that becomes now plausible. And the foggy air. The only thing he doesn't have is like, it's like that fucking murder mystery show when, you know the game is some crime was committed, you got to figure out who did it and how they did it. Okay? Whatever. He's got 3 variables now to his path of most resistance. To the guy that has the path of least resistance, has no variables to offer for his theory that he arrived at. So I just want to point out, this. You can't always go with the path of least resistance. Most of the time you can. And it's certainly a better way to survive and sustain through life without becoming a complete wreck of yourself. Because if you're always going for the path of most resistance, It's a lot of struggling going on because it's the path of most resistance. You have to prove so much extra stuff to prove that it happened versus the easy, rational, logical, more common things. It's just those theories come much easier. But we've established a couple of things here. Just when you become the person that's always subscribing, or just a country, a state of the world that's always subscribing to the path of least resistance, that's when the path of most resistance happens. Okay, when your guard's down and then you become ignorant to the chance that something else can happen, even though it's more likely that it won't, and it's going to be a lot harder to prove that it did happen. It can still happen, so we're proving that. So anyway, if you don't want to drive yourself crazy, be a path of least resistance person. More of the time, that works. But don't be oblivious to the path of most resistance. Because if you become a path of least resistance person all the time, that's when the fucking path of most resistance is going to bite you in the ass. I'm just saying. Tank Lip, and how'd I fucking do for a little coffee? I mean, it's early in the fucking morning, and I don't have a lot of coffee in me. I just went deep on y'all asses. Peace.